Now we want to hear from the president of the National Congress of Black Political Women, which I had something to do when it was founded, including help to found it, who has had a distinguished political career in her own right and has of late been taking the lead on this issue of violence against women. C. Delordes Tucker. Let's bring on.
First of all, I want to say that Reverend Jesse Jackson and the National Rainbow Coalition are to be commended for their foresight in addressing the #1 domestic problem in this nation, violence in America. The National Political Congress of Black Women is a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization created in 1984 at the suggestion of Reverend Jackson at the 1984 Democratic National Convention to empower African American women economically and politically. Its founding members do include some of the most prominent and concerned women in America, including Mary Berry and Dr. Dorothy Height, our mayor of this city, Alexis Herman, Dr. Gloria A. Toot, Jewel Jackson McCabe, Reverend Willie Barrow, Congresswoman Maxine Waters, Eleanor Holmes Norton, Curtis Collins, and Congresswoman Barbara Rose Collins. We embrace and salute the goals of this conference. Today we have all come together to join forces to address the issue of violence in the nation. A violence which has decimated our communities, devastated our families, and destroyed the souls of so many of our youth. It is imperative that we stop the agendas that are not too relevant as this, that we stop pondering over the issue of space exploration, that we stop debating whose diary we should publicize, that we stop arguing over what choices each lifestyle has. For today we must be serious about this serious situation, this plague, this death to our society. Our greatest fear right here in America is not from hurricanes or earthquakes, not from disease or war, but from violence one against the other. We must understand clearly that violence comes in many forms and is acted upon by many sources. Whether we are talking about physical violence, spiritual violence, economic violence, or sexual violence, the end result is the same: the destruction of human life. Enough is enough. And I'd like someone to bring me what made me say enough is enough. Where's my graphic? Bring it up here, please, somebody. I am here to put the nation on notice that violence perpetuated against women through the music industry in the forms of gangsta rap and misogynist lyrics will not be tolerated any longer. Principle must come before profit. A year ago, I established the National Political Congress of Black Women's Entertainment Commission, headed by Dionne Warwick, Melba Moore, Terry Rossi of Billboard magazine, and Vaughn Alexander, our director. It had one primary goal: the task of examining and developing strategies and solutions for reshaping and maintaining positive images to preserve the dignity and the heritage of our youth. Instead of continuously exposing our youth to negative media that distorts their images of male-female relationships, that undermines the stability of our families, communities, and nation by encouraging violence, abuse, and sexism as acceptable behaviors, and perpetuates the cycle of low self-esteem of African American youth. Thus, images that degrade our dignity and are an insult to our children, our families, and communities concern us too. And that includes all this gangster rap and misogynist lyrics. Music that glorifies and promotes violence with guns, knives, or drugs, and denigrates and defames women. And with the release of Snoop Doggy Dog's debut album, Doggy Style, that includes artwork that is nothing but pornographic smut, available to any child to go in and buy with the album and with a record. That has got to stop. You want to know why I'm on the warpath? When I saw this, I said, that's it. We march again, and we're going to keep on marching and demonstrating the truth stuff. For 400 years, profit came before principle, as black women bore the brunt of slave masters' degradation. But even through the Middle Passage, the peculiar institution of slavery, the spirit of black women and their families could not be broken. Today, however, through the lyrics of rappers who display no respect for women, no respect for families, and little respect for themselves, the souls of our sisters are being destroyed, and so too their progeny. All of us have watched as the industry have grown. We have watched not really knowing, not really understanding, not first realizing the damage that is inherent in what some thought were merely words. Now we see the direct and indirect effects. We see the rise in murders, in abuse, in batterings, teen prostitution, and teen suicide. We hear the wailing mothers, the grieving sisters, the tormented brothers and fathers and children planning their own funerals with pink dresses and pink caskets. We feel their hopelessness and helplessness, and we embrace their pain. Yet in the midst of these tragedies, others still want to argue about the First Amendment right to freedom of speech, a freedom they have embraced to call African American women hoes and bitches and sluts and even worse. As I see it, there are three things wrong with gangster rap and misogynist lyrics. It is obscene, it is obscene, it is obscene. In my view, it was never intended by the founding fathers of this nation that First Amendment rights were meant to protect obscenities. And if there were founding mothers, it would have been more explicit about what the First Amendment meant. Obscenity,
I'm not sure I know that part.
Obscenity has long been an exception. Obscenity, and we have the Attorney General here, I believe it's right. Obscenity has long been an exception to free speech. If the filth that is portrayed in these gangster rap videos and art is not obscene, then I submit that nothing is obscene. In 1992, the Canadian Supreme Court ruled that it was more important to ban speech that is dehumanizing to women than to protect free speech. African American women have always been the protector and nurturers of their homes, their families, and their communities. We march for our rights to Selma. I was there with Dr. King. We're beaten with billy clubs, and we're bitten with dogs unleashed by bull counters. We will not tolerate injustice and insults from our worst enemies then, and we sure ain't going to accept insults from our youth now.
All right. Okay.
Although the MPCBW condemns the actions of those young people who produce such music, we also realize that we must provide other channels for them to use these multiple talents they have in a positive and wholesome way. After all, they are not the root causes of the complex socioeconomic forces that are manifested in such vile entertainment. Those problems were there long before many of them were born. Those problems must be addressed if the communities that produce those gangster rappers are to survive and thrive. We know some of the problems, and now on behalf of NPCBW, I will offer up some solutions so that we can help turn this nation around and communities around. First of all, we must use all means possible to eradicate and ban the sale of illegal guns. We must remove guns from the hands of our children and our gangsters who are so proud of the power of the gun. That's number one. Number two, we must reinvent our educational system to include more vocational training to provide a successful transition between school and work for those who will not continue to go on to college. We must extend the school hours in the school year so that latchkey children teachers will be from their schools instead of from the street. We must provide educational opportunities for our prisoners so that they will be productive citizens when their tour of prison is over. I met with Senator Carol Moseley Braun, and I was very pleased to amend what she was introducing to the Senate, not only educational opportunities, but training opportunities as well. And she has proposed mandated training for all prisoners in education.
Now,
we must provide...
See, Delordes, now you don't have to say everything you want to say this time. You'll get to talk again.
Well, I've just got one more page, and may I finish? I wait a long time to come, and let me just finish it. Please.
Okay, well, if you
I only got one more little page here.
All right.
To provide community outreaches so that our youth who have embraced the gangs as their only family will find refuge in community institutions, neighborhood academies, and educational programs. Convert our unused military bases into institutions of peace, where men and women can be trained to become productive citizens who will contribute to the well-being of this nation, expand our nation's infrastructure where needed, and make this nation a powerful global force. I stand before you today with millions of my sisters to say that no one has the right to degrade, denigrate, dishonor, or disrespect African American women. No one has the right to poison our children's mind and destroy our African cultural heritage. That is why the women of NPCBW and our supporters will demonstrate. We'll go to jail again and again and again, just as we did when we demonstrated at the Wiz in December and Sam Goody yesterday. No one and no industry will be allowed to continue this social and psychological genocide of the women and girls of this nation. Stand before you today with the spirits of Sojourner Truth, Harriet Tubman, Fannie Lou Hamer, and Mary McLeod Bethune to say this: we will defy any force that will disrespect us and our families, and I apologize, Mary Berry, my good friend and founder.